Hello and welcome to Historia Romana. Episode 9. Two Nations, One City. Rome may have been able to win its first war, but now it had to deal with the consequences. The city had seen a rapid increase in its population, with thousands of immigrants from across not only Latium, but also Etruria and Sabinum. Romulus was now sharing joint power with Titus Tatius, the Sabine king of Curiae, and the two leaders now had to find a way to make the new power agreement stick. Having established the city center around the Palatine and Saturnine hills, Romulus and Tatius expanded it by formally incorporating the Quirinal and Caelian hills into the city limits. To create room for the growing population, they flattened out the space around the Lacus Curtius. This transformed the marshy plain between the Saturnine and Palatine into the Roman Forum, which would thereafter serve as the central gathering place for assemblies and public affairs. Likewise, the field to the north of the Saturnine was transformed into a parade ground for the Roman army known as the Campus Martius, or the Field of Mars, in honor of the war god. Romulus and Tatius also constructed temples to the many gods to whom they had made vows during their battle. Romulus dedicated a second temple to Jupiter along the Via Sacra, which was quickly becoming the main street of Rome, while Tatius built temples for the sun god Sol, the moon goddess Luna, the agricultural gods Saturn and Opis, the hunter goddess Diana, and several more. Most importantly, his temple for the blacksmith god Vulcan, situated in the southern portion of the Campus Martius, became the venue for conducting business between the Latin and Sabine communities. Beyond this, the two monarchs also agreed to implement several new holy days, which would further bring the two peoples together. The Matronalia, or the celebration of the Sabine women who had brokered the peace, was set on the 1st of March. The Carmentalia, named after the prophetess mother of Evander, who was now worshipped as a goddess of childbirth, was celebrated in mid-January. Finally, the Februa festival that Romulus and Remus had celebrated as children was imported to Rome and would in time come to be known as the Lupercalia, or Festival of the Wolf, which involved a series of animal sacrifices and purification rituals. To ease the Sabine transition into Roman life, Romulus divided his population into three groups, each known as a tribus, or tribe, which roughly corresponded to the city's Latin, Sabine, and Etruscan populations. Each tribe was then subdivided into 10 more groups known as Curiae, each of which was given a specific name based on prominent Sabine women who had helped broker the peace. These Curiae were divided along geographic boundaries around Rome, representing specific neighborhoods that had sprung up near the Palatine, hence why many later works translate Curiae as wards. Each Curia had a meeting site and place of worship, where they conducted rituals and ceremonies to worship the gods of the state, as well as deities that were specific to that Curia. Each Curia was presided over by a Curio, an older man who oversaw the basic administrative and religious duties of the neighborhood, alongside a local priest known as the Flamen Curialis. When the Romans were to assemble for a citywide meeting in the Forum, it would be along Curia lines, thus ensuring a more orderly proceeding. The Curiae also had a military function, as the Roman levy was to consist of 100 men from each Curia, with 1,000 men placed under the command of a tribunus militum, or military tribune, the elected leaders of the three tribes. Along with the Curiae, Romulus and Tatius agreed to add 100 prominent Sabines to the Roman Senate, doubling its size. With these administrative reforms in place, Romulus then turned to creating another new institution, the Comitia Curiata, or the Curiate Assembly, the first of the popular assemblies. Simply put, these assemblies would be Rome's main instrument of popular sovereignty, allowing citizens to participate in a form of direct democracy to weigh in on certain legislative, electoral, and judicial matters. The Comitia Curiata, as the name indicates, was formed around the Curiae. When the 30 Curiae gathered to make up the assembly, they were presided over by both the king, or the Custos Urbis if the king was away, and the Curio Maximus, who was elected by vote of the other Curiones. To maintain order during assemblies, the people did not all vote at once. Instead, each Curiae voted one after another, with the majority of each Curia's voters determining its collective vote in the Comitia Curiata. Voting usually stopped after a majority of Curiae had reached a decision, which was then referred to the Senate and the king for ratification. Besides questions concerning Roman family law and citizenship, the exact issues that the Comitia Curiata could discuss remains unclear. Since this assembly was the principal legislative body during the regal period, it was theoretically responsible for ratifying royal decrees. However, the rejection of such laws by the assembly did not prevent their enactment by the king. In practice then, the Comitia Curiata was much weaker politically than the assemblies that would follow in future centuries. Likely the only reason that it was created at all was because Romulus, Tatius, and the Senate did not want to spend their time micromanaging every little aspect of city life, and decided it was best to let the common people decide these trivial matters themselves. The Curiate Assembly was also joined by the Comitia Calata, or Calate Assembly, though we know very little about it. The Comitia Calata met on the Saturnine Hill and was also organized on the basis of the 30 Curiae. The purpose of this assembly was not legislative or legal, but rather religious. Though the office did not exist during the reign of Romulus, in later generations the Pontifex Maximus presided over the assembly, and it performed duties such as inaugurating priests and selecting Vestal virgins. With these assemblies in place, most of the institutions that would dominate the Roman monarchy had been solidified, changing very little over the next 200 years. The only question that remained was whether Rome would continue to have two kings, or just one, and if just one, who? The answer to this unspoken question would come much sooner than anyone expected. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Until next time.